Hello, welcome back to our channel, and if you're new, just checking in on sustainability and who we are and what we're doing here in the north of Spain, welcome to this crazy little channel where we take you through the start of our journey in our small steps to sustainability. As you can see, today is challenging weather. We're going to try and find somewhere to go. It is probably the worst weather we have seen in this part of Galicia, not in other parts because we had a house in another part, but in this particular part of Galicia, this is our worst experience of weather. What I'm going to do is, I would have loved to have shot this in the polytunnel today, but the noise is insane in there, so we'll see how we get on. I have made my way into one of our bigger barns here that is in the process of some upgrading and refurbishment. So as I found myself here, I thought that I would talk to you a little bit about our channel. I don't think I've really done that since I started the YouTube channel, is discuss fully what we're about, what our intentions are going forward, and how we plan to achieve that in the short, medium to long term. So welcome and hello. My name is Rebecca, and my partner, who you see in a lot of our videos doing more of the construction and heavy lifting, is Troy. We moved to Spain, well, 4.5 years ago, just after Brexit. We had some ideas, and it wasn't actually after Brexit. It was just after, well, it was during COVID and just before Brexit. It was 2020, July 2020. We decided to make some huge changes to our lives, and we had an opportunity to move to the Costa Blanca despite all the shutdowns and difficulties that existed at that time. And we took it thinking that when we got to the Costa Blanca, we would assess what our path would be in Spain. We had an idea of what we wanted for ourselves in terms of sustainability, but we didn't quite know what it looked like because we hadn't chosen somewhere to live in Spain, and we weren't sure of the landscape of where we would want to live. So, and then we arrived and Brexit occurred, and we rushed our residencies through before the Brexit deadline. And then we found ourselves caught up in a lot of controls and lockdowns with the COVID crisis. I think here it was a lot about movement, and because we couldn't move around from our area, it meant that we decided to park our plans overall on what we were going to do in the medium to long term and focus on our children studying and completing high school in the Costa Blanca. So we actually bought a property there and bedded down in the Costa Blanca, only to realise that the more time that went on, it wasn't the place for us. We are originally from Cornwall in the UK. And if you know Cornwall in the UK, it is a very Celtic area, and you'll see a lot of reflections of that in our lifestyle here in Spain, and the things we eat and the things we cook, and in our accents. Okay, so if you're wondering about our accents at all, that is because I have a very mixed accent where I moved around but predominantly lived in Cornwall, and Troy is a true Cornish boy, so from mid Cornwall. But so once we had completed living in the Costa Blanca for about 3 to 4 years, the children had completed high school. I'm getting distracted by cats, so I apologize, I'm not fully focused on you, but everywhere I go on the farm, they tend to follow me and try to impress me and do acrobatics. I can just show you now. We've got Leo. There you go. So yeah, so after we had done a stint in Costa Blanca, we looked at different parts in northern Spain, and we were curious about the pilgrimages in Galicia. So we came up to see what that was about, and the moment we stumbled up here, within 2 days, we decided that we wanted to live here. And a little bit sort of, what would you call that, spontaneous, but what we decided was that, yes, that was emotions of the heart, we would rent somewhere. And we bought a place, but we've come back to the place that we rented, and we're going to live here full time because the property that we bought, we are in a legal process with that property because it is not suitable. There is a video on that. I'll link it as I talk. So here we are. So our plans to sustainability in Galicia, and obviously, you know, wherever you live, how you look at sustainability will vary depending on where you're at, because opportunities and culture will be reflected in what your decisions are around sustainability. So I'm going to talk to you about what our plan for sustainability looks like. And whilst I'm going to cover these three things in this video, just standing here with you, I hope you don't mind just the backdrop of a barn and a mattress, because we're just storing lots of things in here. I'm going to talk to you about our 3 steps, and these aren't short-term steps. Some of these are mid to long term. So step 1 for us is, in terms of sustainability, in the property that we are in, we actually have spring water. So we have a free source of water here. We do not have a free source of electricity. So we are responsibility for electricity. And in terms of sustainability, that is something we are not going to change. I don't believe it's something that we could change really in the short to mid-term. And the reason for that is because of the weather here. And at the moment, it's not our priority to invest and look at how we can cut down to a minimal our electricity costs. Our electricity costs are pretty reasonable at this point. So don't hold me to what I'm saying. We don't know if that will change. But at this point, it's not a priority. This brings us on to food and heating and that type of thing. So for our heating, we have the choice of using oil because we have an oil-fired boiler system. It isn't cheap. It isn't expensive. It sits in the mid-range. We're quite comfortable with it. It's not a long-term solution. So what we are doing predominantly to heat the property is we're using wood. And we're using wood that we use from clearing land areas and from a small forest near us, from managing the trees there, which is like pruning and clipping trees and using that wood. This year, we have reached quite the end of a lot of our wood resource, but as we clear more areas of the land here, we do have more wood. We do need to put a plan in place for winter wood because it is so essential in terms of how we keep the house warm and how we cook. So we use the same system to heat the kitchen and most of the house. It's actually got an oven and we can cook our food. So if we're using the log burner to heat the house, we try to make sure we cook up meals and store them. In the winter, we needed the log burner on most evenings. However, in the day, it tends to be warmer outside than in the house. And because we're quite active outside and physical, we don't always run it. Sometimes we do if the girls are spending a little bit more time indoors. So that is our heating. Then moving on to food. This is just on point 1, by the way. We are working very, very hard at producing and growing crops to minimize our costs of buying food shopping. So we haven't seen the benefit of my work in terms of growing food at the moment. So the plan is to grow as much food as we can. We will be building or creating a storage area for that food and looking at how we preserve as much food as possible. And then within that, at the moment, I haven't started doing it really because I've got young girls, but we will be looking at reducing foods such as bread and any type of processed food that we buy. We think that in the future, we should be able to produce most of our potatoes, onions, garlic, carrots, root vegetables. We're looking at what we can do by way of tomatoes and looking at what we can prolong through seasons here because we've built a polytunnel on the south side of the farm. It's all new to us. It's all a little bit of trial and error. I don't know what my crops are going to be like my first year. I'm spending a lot of time studying, researching to try and mitigate any future problems I may have with disease or poor low crop yields. At this point, I've reached a point with my seedlings and my plants that most of them need to be transferred outside or need hardening up to move outside. But whilst we're in this current weather situation with the temperatures dropping, I'm just waiting to ride that out. So it's a little bit frustrating, but it's not surprising. We knew that, we could be looking at a cold spell in April, and sure enough, it has arrived. It seems to be continuing a little bit longer than I hoped. So I'm now repotting a lot of my baby plants and adding a little bit more manure and feed in there just to hold them out before some of them can go in the ground. And I've had to put quite a few things, unfortunately, into my polytunnel. Whether I can sustain that because it's on the south side, I don't know. But I will be just monitoring that because that is supposed to be for the summer, my tomato, pepper, and watermelon and pea sort of polytunnel. Just going to change arms. That is our ultimate, ideal thing that we want to work towards. However, it brings us on to step 2, which is the challenge, is that we need an income source. We've got bills to pay. There are always going to be bills to pay. And also we can't just live off of saving resources. We would also like to grow and feed money back into the farm and be able to sustain the farm financially and develop it as necessary. So in sustainability, we have to consider, whether we like it or not, money and the resource that money brings us and the importance of that resource. So that brings us on to business. Okay. So in terms of business, we have got a huge amount going on, and that has really started to take shape in the last 2 to 3 weeks, which has held me back from posting because we've needed to get full mental clarity and focus, particularly on this element of sustainability and being very clear in our ideas and what we're going to do. So if you've seen our farm before, I think you're due a proper tour. It is full of buildings because it is an ex-pig farm. The great thing about that is that we have the resource of buildings, and our full intention of this journey was to always make the best of the resources we had, or to utilize, repurpose what was here. So as always with anything, things were created for a purpose. And it has taken us a really long time to see past the limitations that were presented by the old story here, and to see fully the potential without renewing things and investing huge amounts of money into. We have to be very imaginative with this farm because it has potential, but it also has limits. So we have to work with the potential that's here and fully realize that potential. So we are looking at each of the barns and thinking as creatively as we can within the budget and the ability that we have, time and resources. Because resources is not just about money, is it? It's about what you can visualize and what you can bring into that realization through your own skills and your energy and things like that. And I think I said before, Troy and I, we are not in our 30s doing this, and our children are growing up. That's given us the opportunity to do that. But at the same time, I think maybe our mental and physical energies aren't what they were 10 to 15 to 20 years ago. We can feel that. And the whole point of this project and this vision is for quality of life. So we have got a business plan now, and it involves being a learning centre, and that's something that we have to develop, and that's something that we have to explore. And as a result of that, we will be having new members by way of animals come to the farm for where we are, and we are going to explore all those possibilities. What we're doing at the moment is getting a farming license for the animals that we would like to have here. We are also looking at getting registered. The next step for us will be registering as a company, and the steps after that will be registering for an opening license, a mid to long term project. But also we're looking at what income streams we can generate in the short to mid term, which will be this year. To become a business and generate an income here, there are lots of things for us to do, and we are working extensively on those. Our first and most important project has been cleaning up the farm and clearing spaces, removing things. If you were watching at the start of this video when I was in the other barn, there was a big pile of clothes we had found in one of our rooms here, which we call the antique houses. Here we have two of them, and I'm going to turn the camera around because you can see what these are, what we call our little antique houses here. And this one has an upstairs. We've begun clearing that one out, and this one is a storage room at the moment, and we've got some fireplaces that we've inherited outside there. The ladder goes up to our tank of fuel there, and then we've got the main house coming round. So cleaning, it's a huge chore. It's a very enjoyable chore. It's something we very much enjoy doing, seeing the transformation step by step. But it has put a little bit of a pause on YouTube videos because we have to be very focused at this point as we get this lift off, and we've got so much energy to do it. And we are working on that as well as having our food growing. Step 3, and this may come later in the summer, it might not even be this year, and that will be support. The support that we need on the farm. Hello, darling.
Hello. Just tidying up now. Some brush.
So step 3 is support that we need on the farm, and maybe other skills that we need to bring in on the farm, and we may need those in the mid term. We may say that we're just not at a point where we can take support. The actual property that we live in has the potential for us to accommodate more people. At the moment, we could start to have workaways and support here now. It would be fantastic, but at the same time, we don't have the capacity to be social with people that aren't just part of our family nucleus. We are a family of 4 at the moment. I'm very blessed with the fact that my children, who are in their teens, are very invested and involved in what we're doing, but our future plan is being open to the fact that they are probably, or may not, who knows, want to spread their wings and try new things. At this point, they're very happy here working with us, but they are also exploring their own futures, which is something that we fully support. We would miss the input that they have at this point, and we are looking at what our options are in terms of that. Means that going forward, it's possible with such a huge property, a project and a business, we're going to need support. If that does go forward and we are looking at workaways, obviously, we will be very open to that and signpost anybody who's watching the channel and is interested in participating in that. But I've tried to narrow it and summarize it down into the clear aspects of our work here this spring and going forward into summer. I really want to share all of those steps with you and on this channel, and you to be part of it and to share the skills that we're learning, as well as the skills that we're able to utilize here, in the hope that it spreads and incentivizes other people, and it just gives people entertainment really as well. It's important to us to grow as a community. We're doing that here in Galicia, but we know that there is a wider community in this world of people that are very much connected to our ideas and interests and our vision. And YouTube is just such a fantastic way for us to share how we're showing up in the world, and how we're pursuing our interests and passions. So welcome aboard if this is your first time checking in with us, and if you came back from our other videos, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to follow our journey. And please make sure that you ask any questions that come up as you watch our videos, or any curiosity you have, just pop it down below, because I would be really more than happy to read all of those curiosities and comments and respond, and to understand more about our viewers, and connect. So I'm just going to show you around now, and you can see what's been going on the farm. Out here, Troy is building us some pens to go in one of the barns, so that we have a plan as far as our small animals go. We face the challenge of chicks and not having a stage 3 option integration to outside for them. So what we're doing at the moment is looking at creating some pens. We'll probably have some other small animals and rescues in those pens, but most importantly, if we are having hatched chicks or any of our hens are brooding, we have got a safe environment and home for them to live in one of the barns. We have to be very careful because we have predators on the farms, and we have our own cats. So we would like our own chickens to produce chicks for us, so that we have that sustainability as well of our own hens going forward. But at the moment we cannot offer that safely for them because of predators, because of the cold, and because we do have cats. We do actually need cats on the farm because they deter a lot of pests, and they also help protect our hens from foxes. They have a little property that is close to the hens, and they spend most of their time there, live there, feed there, and hang out there near the hens, and we know that for sure deters foxes from snooping around. The dogs can't be there all the time, but the cats are a fantastic deterrent, and also from rats stealing our eggs.
I was just going to say, obviously we're using what we can, but anything that's full of woodworm, we're just going to burn it, because it's all untreated, so it burns nicely in the fire. There's so much of it that you can't do anything.
We've actually whittled down a lot, haven't we?
We have, yeah. We've got
reusing it and things like that. And I'm going to go and show our audience in a second some of the things we've done that are here, which is kind of exciting. And if you're watching the channel, you might see some strange pieces of wood on gates and doors and things like that, and frames, and it has come from our repurposing area. Over in this barn, it's a complete blank space, and we are thinking that we might use this area, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. That's a future thing, and there's no point into any details with that because nothing is firm. So as I've learned living in Spain for 5 years is don't talk about it unless it's actually happening in the moment or it's done, because you just don't know what's around the corner, do you? Things can change in a moment. And anytime I've actually said, oh, we're going to be doing this in the future, I've started to feel like a complete lunatic, because sort of 7 times out of 10 those things don't happen, because a curveball comes in, things change, a disaster happens. Maybe that's not everybody's experience of Spain, but since we've been in Galicia, it seems to be our main experience. So the hood's going up, and I'm going to take you through. This is going to be a long episode today. I hope you're happy with that, but I'm going to take you through the barns and take you up to show you what's been going on. Let's go in, weather permitting and with sound on the camera, to greenhouse number 2. I'm going to restart that. This is where we're at with our seedlings, and you can see I'm at full capacity here at the moment. I'm going to talk to you about what we're actually growing for food as a resource on the farm. I'm not saying this is everything. I'm probably going to add more things. I'm not quite sure yet, but here we've got aubergine. These all need separating out. I haven't had time to do that, so I apologize if you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh my goodness, all those seeds are cramped up. The seeds are very small. Here we've got, I think this is tomatoes. I wouldn't be surprised. Tomatoes is my biggest thing. It's my children love tomatoes. They love pasta and sauces and pasta. So I've really invested in tomato plants. We've got radish here. These are probably cucumber or something akin, gherkin, something like that, something along those family. I've had no luck with parsnips. I've watched a lot of videos, I've tried different things, and I haven't had any luck with parsnips. Personally, I think I've planted them too early and that they're a slow starter. We have got some cilantro growing here, which is coriander. This is more of my tomatoes. This is a type of basil. I've got to separate that out. Some of that's gone into the polytunnel. I'm waiting to put some out into my kitchen garden. This, cannot remember. More, we've got lots more peas down here. We've got some watermelon. We're not a fan of watermelon generally. I do love to eat it, but I can't. I'm the only one in the family that enjoys it. So the chickens love it. So that's for the chickens. We've got lots of flowers. We've got swede. We've got sprouts growing down here. We've got some sunflowers for the children. More tomatoes. I've got my cucumbers down here. I've got some onions, not quite coming up yet. Beans. I'm growing some lavender. The first ones of those coming up. Really excited that I've got my asparagus shoots. I know it might be years before I have asparagus, but the fact that I actually got them to germinate was to actually start growing is wonderful. We got some flowers here for the garden. Our swede here is exciting. Gherkin. Not quite sure what these are. Oh, it's basil, more basil. Let's have a look what we've got here. We've got butternut squash and pumpkins, some early pumpkins I'm working on. More of the same, I think, and tomatoes. That one, I've been thinning these out. This is swede, I think. Dahlias for the garden. This is a really fascinating small tomato. If you've tried them, let me know. I just threw them in there and I'm just going to see. I've got to think about what I'm going to do thinning those out. We got some more asparagus here. I actually bought this because I gave up on my own asparagus actually growing, and it looks like this one's got a bit sad, so I'm going to have to dress that. Peas. Oh, we've got some sweet corn. I started some sweet corn a couple of weeks ago. That came up quite quickly. Carrots. This is probably not the way to do carrots. I should have done them straight to ground, but I kind of put them in before I really did my research on it. I've got some onions, more onions just coming up. I've put in leeks somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where they are. We've got some sunflowers, that's to feed the chickens. Oh, what's here? Oh, we've got some rocket growing here as well. And what I'll be trying to work towards is collecting my own seeds as well, so harvesting some and letting some go to flower and seed. So that will be the next stage, which I hope to share how I get on with that. So we'll just go underneath. We've got my grow bags, which I'm working through. This one's been reduced as things move into the polytunnel, and you can see there's a lot going on. What's this one? That's my broccoli, and it's just so worth it, guys, just to buy seeds, because that packet of seeds cost me €1.20, and just to buy 6 broccoli plants from the market cost me €4 to €5. So yeah, I mean, yes, I'm new to this. Hopefully I'll be successful. They all need thinning out. And the biggest challenge I've got is, can I use all these plants? Can I thin them out and find space? And as you can see with our weather at the moment, it is a real challenge because I think it's too cold. Before I go to the polytunnel, I just wanted to show you our potatoes. I think if you watched one of our others, you will have seen that I was creating this bed. I had no idea if it was going to work. You can see we've got our first potatoes coming up, and this is a hay-based system. So there's some mulch underneath, and it's very drippy on the farm today because it's been so wet for about 5 days now. Onions and garlic are coming up. It's not the most sort of prettiest bed you can see, but it is minimizing a lot of my weeds, and I really like it so far. It's just come up and you can see that's one potato, but it's all looking fantastic. And what's great about this system is it's protected our potato crop from frosts, because we continue to have frosts after we put our potatoes down. And our local friends were like saying, rubbing their chins, going, oh dear. And I said, okay, well, let's just see how it goes. We didn't put the whole crop out. We paused and we're like, okay, let's see what happens. And I've got a lot of grass growing in here because it's straw, but it's no bother. But yeah, at the same time, I've got my onions and my garlic in here because it is a deterrent to voles. As we have the opportunity of using this space beyond this field, which we are not in a position at all to take on as a project, we have decided to think small and work small. And you know, this is about living creatively small, this channel. So this is going to be our main kitchen garden focused area to begin with, and we may expand it as we move through to the summer into this field, which is currently being cropped by a local farmer for grass. And it could be an option for us, or there could be another option. But at this point, we are not in any position to take on what seems like, I think it might be 12, maybe 18,000 square meters of land. So we are just talking with somebody about our options. But as you can see, we have repurposed wood from the barn that I was talking about, and we've created beautiful planters. The wood for this is going to be our pumpkin tunnel was given to us. We have had to buy fencing for the whole of the farm, and this was a piece left. And yeah, so we're using mulch from our local woodland that we have here. It's a very small woodland, and we're using some of the mulch from there. We've got some of our strawberries, and as soon as the weather the good weather returns, I will be in this area again, planting and preparing it to be a kitchen and beautiful garden. And let's go up to the greenhouse. You can see the wood here, repurposed. This is all repurposed wood. So let's go up to the strawberry planters. Do you remember the chicken feeder? Yes, chicken feeders have become my new strawberry planters. So they were biodegrading anyway, because most of them were left around the farm, and they seem to be perfect as long as I feed my strawberries with my concoctions that I make. These all of these strawberries were rescued from on the farm. I found them in various beds growing. Most of them looked like this or like this, and these ones have recently been planted, but you can see that they're starting to pop up and grow more leaves. I am taking flower heads off because I want to focus on stronger plants before I get strawberry. Why we want to put our fence in, because we do not want the local jabali or wild boar coming up and eating them. Should you think that it is a rarity that a wild boar here? Yes, it seems quite strange. I found it quite strange when I got here. They talked a lot about wolves and wild boar, but we've seen them. So since seeing them pottering around at roadsides and around us and down the lane, Lily caught one down the lane when she was walking the dog one day, we've realised that it is a huge threat to our crops, and it would be a disaster financially for us. It would have a huge impact on us because we're small scale. So the best thing we can do is have a fence and the deterrence. So this is our peas, and I think last time I was on here, these were baby plants that I grew from seed, and you can see that they have gone wild, and I need to put new poles in to support them. So another job there. I've been making teepees with old twigs around the farm because the beans are going in the farm. This is my red cabbage. I would have liked these to have gone outside already, but in my desperation, they ended up in the polytunnel where they've gone a bit wild, and we're hoping that by replanting them, they don't get too upset. So we'll see that. We have had a huge incident in the polytunnel. It's been a big drama, which I haven't shared online a lot. It's been driving Troy mad, and I'm going to let you know what that is that we have got a mole that comes into our polytunnel. It's really inconvenient because he's eating the worms that I have generated through my composting and wormery, and he's coming in and feeding on them. You cannot blame him because the land around us is so commercially farmed. With the fact that we're creating such abundant soil where we're growing things is attracting pests. I don't like to personally call them pests, but when they are churning up your polytunnel and jeopardizing, you know, your beautiful plants that you've been nourishing and taking care of, they do sit in the pest category. And I'm not sure what's going on there. If you know anything about growing tomatoes and getting the best crops of tomatoes, send me a comment, because you'll be helping me greatly, because I haven't got that far of knowing what to do. So that's about it here from the polytunnel, and I hope that that's been a good update. There's a lot growing, a lot going on. I've got to go back and do lots of researching every time I come here. I seem to leave with about 5 questions, so I'm starting to just see that as part of my normal life. You go out, you look at your plants, you come away with 5 questions, you research, you learn. It's fantastic to be in a position to be growing and evolving in this way. In this experience is such a privilege, even though that there are uncertainties and challenges ahead for us. We feel that we are growing and we are really living in the moment and the experience of these challenges. And yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed our update. It's been a lot about me talking and telling you everything, but I felt it was only right to really give you the lay of the land with what we're doing, and we'll see you next video.